It's 6 o'clock in the morning. I got a full tank of gas, a 45-minute drive to get to where we're gonna be talking about today's subject because it ain't gonna be in my yard. It's dark and I'm wearing sunglasses. Hit it. I've stood all I can stands and I can't stands no more with our lawn here at DMO headquarters. So we're gonna tackle some issues we got going on in here. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Check this madness out right here. This isn't the only problem we got going on here, but this is the most obvious. So we're gonna tackle this first. This right here is a nutsedge problem, a big nutsedge problem. Before we talk about nutsedge and how to get rid of it, the first thing I gotta do is figure out how much square footage I'm tackling here. So first order of business, take some measurements. Okay, so we got four main sections that we're tackling here. We're gonna call this section A, section B, section C, and way down there on the other end is gonna be section D. And keeping in mind that they're not perfect rectangles, like here you got a nice little triangle shape cut off on the end here, and it also kind of curves around the garden bed over there. Same issue with this section here. We got a bunch of landscaping over on that side and a nice little triangle point cut off here. And way down there, section D, it's kind of a long, it starts out wide and it goes narrow as you get down to the other end. So I'm keeping that in mind. But the total square footage, section A right here is about 405 square feet. Section B, we're looking at about 1,200 square feet. Section C down there, it's about 2,100 square feet, and section D all the way on the other end, that's about 1,200 feet. So all of this added up is roughly about 5,000 square feet that we have to tackle with our nutsedge problem. So let's dive in and talk about nutsedge. It's a pretty common weed during the summer months, and you can easily pinpoint it because it stands much taller than your turf. And it's very hard to get rid of because it has a very immersive root system. It's also a perennial sedge, meaning it's gonna live for at least 2 years and grow back year after year. And it's gonna grow much quicker than your grass even after it's been mowed. And sometimes it can be pretty hard to spot this because it actually looks like grass blades, but at the end of a nutsedge stem, you're usually gonna find 3 leaves and a flower. And those flowers can be different colors, but most commonly they're either yellow or purple or a dark red. Nutsedge with yellow flowers, or most commonly known as yellow nutsedge, that's typically gonna grow in the middle of summer. Whereas nutsedge that has deep red or purple flowers, also known as purple nutsedge, that's typically gonna grow in late summer. And just like all sedges, nutsedge weeds have a triangular stem to them that you can actually feel in your hands. All right, so I'm gonna do my best here and see if we can't dig one of these out so we can take a look at the root systems and talk about that. All right, so I did my best to pull these nutsedge weeds out with the root systems so we could identify it and give you a good example of what they look like. Now the roots of the rhizomes, they can reach about 8 to 14 inches below the ground, and the rhizomes, they're gonna grow horizontally under the soil and emerge out of the soil to form a new sedge plant somewhere else in the yard. So what that means is multiple sedges here can be connected by one series of rhizomes. Now like I said, I did the best I could to pull these out and get the nutlets that are typically at the bottom of the root systems. But let's talk about that for a minute. So usually the roots will have some small starchy tube structure known as nutlets attached at the bottom of the root system here. And if you see nutlets at the bottom of the root system, 100%, no doubt about it, that is nutsedge. I'm not sure why these don't have the little nutlets on them. Either I didn't dig deep enough to pull them out, or when I did pull them out, those got snapped off. But I know for certain that these are nutsedge weeds. And I'm not sure if this is showing up well or not on camera, but as you can see, we have the triangular stem here to the weed, and yeah, it most definitely feels like a triangular shape when I run my finger up and down it. So, yep, nutsedge. Now in the summer, if nutsedge has enough sunlight like what we got here in the front of our building in our turf type tall fescue, it's gonna go much quicker than the actual grass itself. And usually at this stage in the game, you're gonna have flowers budding on the top of the nutsedge. Now in the summertime, especially with this cool season turf like what we have here in front of our building, the turf begins to slow its growth and the nutsedge begins to amp it up because it has plenty of sunlight to feed off of. And if you leave it unmowed, it can grow to be over a foot tall. Now another note about nutsedge, it starts in the spring, but it tends to slow down in the cooler temperatures. But in the middle of summer, again, when it's blazing hot like it is here in Georgia, it's gonna grow like crazy. Now nutsedge thrives in really sunny areas and doesn't do so hot in the shade. So when you go to inspect your yard, I would check the sunniest parts first. So that's nutsedge in a nutshell. So now let's talk about how to get rid of it in your yard. Really the only option you got is to hit it with a post-emergent, and one post-emergent application is most likely not gonna be enough. If the nutsedge tubers, the nutlets at the bottom of the root system, are not killed, they're most likely gonna grow back the next season. So again, one application of post-emergent herbicide is most likely not gonna do the trick. You're gonna have to do 1 or 2, maybe even 3 different applications. So the post-emergent that we're gonna mix up today and put down on our turf here at DMO headquarters should put a pretty good dent into our problem. So let's get to mixing and spraying. So the post-emergent that I'm gonna be using to tackle our nutsedge problem in the front of our building, it says I need to mix 0.9 grams per gallon for every 1,000 square feet. Now I know I said that it was about 5,000 square feet in the front. It's more like 4, given, like I said, all the garden beds and the angles and the turns and the rounded corners that all the turf has up there. So I'm looking at about 4,000 square feet. So one 4-gallon mixture here should do the trick. And of course, gonna be using my good old turf mark to see where I've sprayed and where I haven't sprayed. Check this out. This is when you know it's really hot outside. And done. We did about 3.6 grams and 4 gallons of water over roughly 4,000 square feet, and I think I've lost about 20 pounds because it's about 1,000 degrees out here with, I think, about 100% humidity. I'm tired. This application should put a pretty good dent in our nutsedge problem here. I have no doubt that we'll have to come back through and retreat it later on in the future. We'll do a follow-up on this in about a week or so just to see where we're at, and again, we'll most likely have to retreat Like I said at the beginning of this video, this is not the only problem we got going on in this turf. There's some other issues that we're gonna have to tackle, but those are all videos for another time. If you want to know more about the post-emergent that I mixed up and used on our turf here, I'll leave the link in the description box below so you can hop over to our website, domyown.com, and read more about that. If you got any more questions on Nutsedge, leave those in the comments section below. Email them over to the customer service staff or pick up the phone. Give them a call. If you're not already, click this button right here to subscribe to the channel. You can click this link to watch the most recent episode in the lawn care series. And if you want to watch all of them from the beginning, you can click this playlist right here. And as always, thanks for watching.